Salve, in this video we're going to go over adjectives and how they function in Latin. Adjectives are words that describe things, such as big, small, good, or bad. Here we have two English sentences that include an adjective. The adjective in these sentences is the word good. In the first sentence, the adjective good describes daughter. In the second, it describes sons. Here's an example of a Latin adjective, bonus, bona, bonum, which means good. This adjective and all the ones that we'll learn about in the near future use first and second declension endings depending on the gender. You'll generally see adjectives listed this way in dictionaries with three forms. The forms here are the nominative singular forms of the various genders. Bonus is nominative singular masculine. Bona is nominative singular feminine, and bonum is nominative singular neuter. Sometimes we'll see an adjective with er instead of us in the masculine, such as sacer, sacra, sacrum, which means holy or sacred. And again, the first one is the nominative singular masculine form, the second is feminine, and the third is neuter. Okay, going back to these earlier English examples, let's look at the adjective in each one. In English, we just use the word good both times. In English, adjectives don't change regardless of what they describe. So even though we have one female in the first sentence being described and two males in the second sentence, we just use the word good to describe them. Latin adjectives don't work that way. In Latin, an adjective needs to agree with a noun, meaning that the adjective will change to match the noun that it describes. The most important thing for you to remember from this video is that in Latin, adjectives and nouns have to agree. They will always agree with nouns in three ways: case, number, and gender. They don't necessarily have to have the same ending or be the same declension. Sometimes they will and sometimes they won't, but they will always agree in case, number, and gender. So in the first example, good describes daughter, so it will be the same case, number, and gender as daughter, in this case being accusative singular feminine. In the second example, good describes sons, so good will be accusative plural masculine to agree with sons. Okay, so let's see some basic examples of noun and adjective agreement. If we wanted to say she is a good girl in Latin, we'd say puella bona est. Puella is nominative singular feminine, so bona needs to be as well because it needs to be the same case, number, and gender as the word that it describes. Also notice that in Latin the adjective will often come after the word that it describes, which is the opposite of English, but the word order in Latin doesn't really matter that much. All right, to say they are good girls, we'd say puellae bonae sunt. The noun is now nominative plural feminine, so the adjective has to change as well. They are good boys would be pueri boni sunt. Both of those forms are nominative plural masculine. Okay, now let's move away from the nominative case. If we wanted to say, we are taking care of the little boys, we'd say, pueros parvos curamus. Pueros is the direct object and therefore must be accusative, in this case accusative plural masculine, and the adjective is also accusative to agree with it. If we switch the English from boys to girls, we'd need to change the Latin to puellas parvas curamus. The adjective parvas needs to change genders along with the noun. Okay, let's switch to the neuter gender. Here our English example is, it is a good gift. To translate this, we'd say, donum bonum est. Donum is a neuter noun, so we'll have a neuter adjective describing it. To say they give good gifts, we'd switch both the noun and the adjective to an accusative plural neuter ending and get dona bona dant. Okay, for these examples, see if you can figure out what adjective we should use to describe the noun. First, he is carrying my money. Of course, the adjective here is mai, which describes money, which would be translated with the feminine word pecuniam. The word for mai is meus. Here we see that word in all three genders. And since mai describes money, it needs to be the same case, number, and gender as money. In this case, that's accusative, singular, feminine. Therefore, the Latin adjective will be meam. The full translation is meam pecuniam portat. Again, adjectives can come before or after the noun in Latin, so we could also say pecuniam meam portat, and that would be fine as well. Next, he is our friend. The adjective is our, which describes friend. For friend, we need amicus, which is nominative, singular, masculine. The word for our is noster. So we'll use that nominative, singular, masculine form of the adjective and get est amicus noster. Notice that the endings aren't identical here. Amicus has a us in the nominative singular, while noster has an er, but that doesn't matter. What does matter is that they are the same case, number, and gender. Okay, one more example. The sailors are angry. Angry describes sailors, both of which need to be nominative, plural, masculine. The word for angry is iratus. Now there's a tricky bit here. The word for sailors is nautai because it needs to be nominative, plural. But remember, even though it's a first declension noun, it is masculine. So the adjective describing it needs to be masculine as well. That means that the adjective will be irati. They aren't the same declension, so the endings won't be the same, but both the noun and the adjective are nominative, plural, masculine, so they'll agree, and we get nautai irati sunt for this example. Now this happens with nauta, meaning sailor, and it will also happen with other first declension masculine nouns. Prime examples are agricola, meaning farmer, and poeta, meaning poet. So again, the sailors are angry would be nautai irati sunt. If we wanted to say the farmer is happy, that would be agricola laetus est. If we wanted to say they are good poets, that would be poetae boni sunt. The noun and the adjective agree in case, number, and gender. Okay, that's it for noun-adjective agreement. Let me know if you have any questions. Wale.